Thanks everyone for joining today's live webinar hosted by CyberLink and co-sponsored by BlueStar and MPS. Today's webinar is with the topic of AI-based solutions to create safe and enjoyable environments during COVID-19. We wanna spend the time to give you guys some ideas of the technologies that the three companies together has created, which will be beneficial as we attempt to battle through oh God, I have to do
Your
this.
background, the PowerPoint disappeared too. So
Yeah,
it's just me and you.
I did that on purpose.
Okay.
So I'm gonna stop. Thanks everyone for joining today's live
I don't
webinar.
see the background PowerPoint. Just you and me.
Okay.
There we go.
Thanks everyone for joining today's live webinar hosted by CyberLink and co-sponsored by MPS and BlueStar. Today's webinar is with the topic of AI-based solutions to create safe and enjoyable environments during COVID-19. We want to spend some time and bring on our presenters and panelists to talk about really during this pandemic, what kind of technologies that we have made available through the channel and also to various verticals in order to combat the pandemic. As the coronavirus pandemic continues to affect businesses across the US, there are AI-based technologies enabling safe reopening, ensuring visitors maintain distance from one another, wear face masks properly, and also receive assistance if they show elevated body temperature, in order to keep everyone safer. So we have guys from CyberLink and BlueStar and MPS to present to you our solutions, which would enable you. I feel like I'm stuttering, just kind of repeating myself, right? So thanks everyone for joining today's webinar. The webinar is hosted by CyberLink and co-sponsored by BlueStar and Municipal Parking Services, or MPS. The webinar is called AI-based solutions to create safe and enjoyable environments during COVID-19. As the coronavirus pandemic continues to affect businesses across the US, there are AI-based technologies that the three companies creating to enable safer reopening, ensuring visitors maintaining social distance from one another while wearing face masks properly, and receive assistance if they show elevated body temperature, keeping everyone safer throughout the process. Today we have presenters from these three companies, including myself. I'm the host to basically facilitate the entire process of the webinar. We also have Craig Campbell, my colleague here. He will be taking care of all of the Q&As. You guys can basically type in your questions in the chat section, and he's going to try to answer it the best he can. And he's going to moderate the last 15 to 20 minutes of today's session for a live Q&A. Today we have Richard Carrier from from CyberLink. He's the senior VP of global marketing here at CyberLink. We also have Joe Caldwell. He's the CEO of Municipal Parking Services. And lastly, we also have James Cordy. He's the manager of digital marketing strategy at BlueStar Inc. Before I hand it off to Richard, just want to make sure that you guys are also aware. We did put a handout which also covers our contact information, so we're making it available to you just in case you need to reach out to us. We will also leave a few seconds of that one slide for the handout, so you guys can take the time to do screen capture or take an image of it, so you can reach out to us directly after the event. Thank you very much, and we'll hand it off to Richard. Thanks, Richard. Thanks everyone for joining AI-based solutions to create safe and enjoyable environment during COVID-19. Today's webinar is hosted by CyberLink and co-sponsored by BlueStar and also Municipal Parking Services. As the coronavirus pandemic continues to affect businesses across the US and the globe, there are AI-based technologies that the three companies have put together and making it available to the channel in various verticals. These technologies will enable safe reopening, ensuring visitors maintain distance from one another, making sure everybody is wearing face masks properly, and you receive assistance in the case when someone is showing elevated body temperature. We have three presenters today to give you guys an overview of what they're currently doing and what kind of impact they can make as we're fighting through the pandemic. Just to introduce the panel here, my name is Jay Chang. I'm the VP of Business Development at CyberLink, managing our AI business and go-to-market initiatives in the US and Latin America. We also have my colleague Craig Campbell. He's the manager of sales engineering. As far as the panels, we have Richard Carrier, our senior VP at CyberLink. He's our senior VP of global marketing. And we also have the manager of digital marketing strategy from BlueStar, James Cordy. And last but not least, we also have Joe Caldwell. He is the CEO of Municipal Parking Services. Throughout the event, I will be the person hosting and also facilitating the process. While Craig, my colleague here, again, he's going to take care of any questions you guys have in the chat. Feel free throughout the event, just type in your questions, and we'll try the best we can to answer. If we can, we will also leave some of the questions towards the end of the event. We have we basically allocated about 15 to 20 minutes to also conduct a live Q&A for some of the questions that we feel the entire audience needs to understand as well. Thanks for attending. We also have a handout that we put together, which is available in the control panel here. That covers our contact information of the three companies that are presented today. We also will make that available at the last 10 seconds as a slide for the event, so then you guys can take a screenshot if necessary. Without further ado, let me pass it on to Richard, our first presenter, to talk about what CyberLink has to provide for the pandemic use cases. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, and thanks for joining this webinar. My name is Richard Carrier. I'm SVP and General Manager at CyberLink. CyberLink is a world leader in digital media technologies. For over 25 years, we've developed video and photo editing, playback, streaming solutions that have been sold in hundreds of millions of units. And most recently, we've developed FaceMe, which is an AI-based biometric technology, enabling a whole number of use cases to create enjoyable environments and more recently to contribute to a safe environment with COVID-19. So what is FaceMe? It's the world's top cross-platform AI facial recognition engine. It's highly accurate with 99.7% accuracy rate according to NIST, placing us Hi everyone, and thanks for joining this webinar. My name is Richard Carrier. I'm SVP and General Manager at CyberLink. CyberLink is a world leader in digital media technologies. For over 25 years, we've developed video and photo editing, playback, streaming solutions that have been sold in hundreds of millions of units. And most recently, we've developed FaceMe, which is an AI-based biometric technology, enabling a whole number of use cases to create enjoyable environments and more recently to contribute to a safe environment with COVID-19. So what is FaceMe? It's the world's top cross-platform AI facial recognition engine. It's highly accurate with 99.7% accuracy rate according to NIST, placing us among the top 5 solutions in the world if you exclude a few solutions from countries like China or Russia that cannot really go to market in most of the world. It's very secure because it's edge-based, so you don't need to have cloud connections. You can have a completely closed environment. It's also because it's edge-based, it's extremely fast, so what would take several seconds can happen in a few milliseconds. It is optimized for cross-platform solutions, so we support 11 OSs, including Windows, several flavors of Linux, Android, and iOS. And even more, it's designed for PCs, mobile, IoT devices at the edge, or servers, which means that it can run in very, very powerful workstations if needed, but it can also be embedded in small IoT devices with low power CPUs and still deliver the best possible solution. Some of the key features of FaceMe are face detection. Is there a face in front of a camera? Face recognition. If we have a database that identifies someone based on their facial vectors, can we authentify them for access control or other things for login? Face attributes, very helpful for statistics collection. Is this a man or woman? What is their age range? What are their emotions? We also develop powerful pre-processing image technologies. So it corrects for lighting conditions and can correct for cameras that are not precise enough and remove bias that sometimes would happen based on skin complexion, gender, and other factors, which is something quite important when you do facial recognition. We have very powerful anti-spoofing technologies. And most recently, we added mask detection technology and the ability to recognize people with high precision, even if they wear a mask. Let me do a demo of FaceMe. So here you have a visitor coming in, not yet identified, but still we can detect demographics. Very easy to sign them in. So now it's my colleague Amaury. When he comes back, you see it's a second visit and you have him identified in a few milliseconds. FaceMe also enables the identification of several people at once. You could have dozens of people in a picture and still they will be identified and their attributes will show. Like now they're happy, angry, sad, etc. It's that simple. So with these few basic functionalities, you can enable a very large number of use cases with FaceMe. Now, what are the applications for this? And that's where I'll spend most of the time. Like I'll show you a few examples of how it works in industries like retail and banking, in restaurants, hospitality, but also I will show some more horizontal use cases around security and COVID-19. So if we start with retail, one of the most basic mature use cases is the use of digital signage. So based on the attributes of somebody, we can personalize ads. So here we have a gentleman wearing in a department store. We will show him information that are more relevant to a man. It can also help collect statistics so that the retailers can improve the experience in store, and it integrates into any hardware and CRM solution. We can push it a bit further. So here there's a solution that was developed with one of our partners, Advantech, but the SDK enables to embed that in literally any system where you can run loyalty VIP programs. So somebody who decides to enroll their face in a loyalty program, let's say to a luxury store, their favorite store is the one in Beverly Hills. Now they go to the store of that chain, let's say the flagship store in Paris, and they will be recognized. They won't have to wait in queue. A private shopper will come to them and say, "Sir, madam, please join you. We know you're a valued customer of our other store. Let me treat you well." Or it can be any loyalty program. Also, it can be helpful in a retail environment for employee authentication, access control for areas that might require that. It can do clock in, clock out. It can also create alerts for watch lists if you have blacklisted people, shoplifters, people who are dangerous, and collect statistics. So this is all in a system where all you have to do is install the software in a workstation, plug cameras, and here we go. Something that's applicable to banking now, but also relevant in some retail cases, is transaction processing. So facial recognition through FaceMe can enable true contactless payment. So you don't have to touch anything with your card. Basically, your face is identified, and you have, with a level of precision of 1 chance in a million only to be misidentified. If you compare with other biometrics like iris or fingerprints, it's over 100 times more precise, never mind using a password or a 4-digit PIN. And this can be used at ATMs, this can be used on mobile devices. It can also be used in any kiosk where you want to do contactless transaction. And one thing very important here is anti-spoofing. So let me show you a quick video that explains how it works. So here we have a 3D camera. We could have also a 2D, but with the 3D laser camera, it will detect immediately, okay, this is a real person that walked in a few milliseconds. Now, if you use a picture of somebody, it will identify spoof because there's no perspective. And same thing, even if you play a video of someone, still it's not going to work. So very simple technology, works extremely well. Now, if you continue a bit further, take restaurants, hospitality. There's a lot of implementations right now of self-service kiosks. It can enhance the user experience. In the case of COVID-19, also it minimizes interactions that could transmit the virus. So imagine you walk to a kiosk, you're enrolled in their loyalty program, so you automatically log in with your face, you have a personalized offering, you're offered if you want to pay with your regular means of payment, all that without touching anything. You can even control the kiosk by nodding or shaking your head because we recognize that. And of course, stores can collect statistics. In fact, even, and that stores could be hotels, it could be restaurants. And even if you are a customer who is not part of a loyalty program, we can still do personalized offerings. Another thing that's relevant to hospitality is access control with, let's say, a hotel, having contactless door locks, so you can have access to your room with or the guest areas without having to touch anything, just using your face. Same thing with elevators, based on recognizing you, the elevator can direct you to your floor without having to touch anything. Never mind, it's also a good tool for intruder detection. So these are just some examples of vertical cases. Now let's talk about something more horizontal around security. So we have this tool called FaceMe Security, which is a piece of software. While the other cases I was showing you came from our SDK that can be implemented in any other software, FaceMe Security is something that all you have to do, you install it on a workstation, you plug IP cameras, and you populate a database with faces of, let's say, employees, visitors, blacklisted people, people who are member of VIP programs or not, and here you go. Connects to server. If anyone has, let's say, a visitor is coming, you can have an instant notification to a tool called U Alerts, or somebody is an intruder, or an employee walks into an area where they shouldn't be spending too much time. So it all works, and it's something that runs out of the box. We also have all sorts of other solutions that can be implemented using our SDK for security, using anywhere from clocking machines, access control devices for door control, POS device unlock. And here it creates very precise, quick, frictionless authentication. You can embed anti-spoofing. So it decreases absenteeism because the employee has to be at work. It's good for employee safety. Let's say Joe has entered the area where you have the freezer room half an hour ago. Joe has not come back. You might want to go check if Joe is freezing to death. It's also pretty good for asset protection, secure area protection. So these are some good use cases. Now let's go to something that's highly relevant at the moment, which is COVID-19 safety solutions. So we developed another software that's all-inclusive called FaceMe Health. And what it does mask detection. It's somebody wearing a mask and wearing it properly. It does also face recognition when people wear a mask with a level of accuracy that goes up to 95%, which is market leading and good enough. And also it can integrate thermal cameras to measure body temperature. Let me show you a quick demo of how this thing works. So here you have somebody for temperature screening. You have a thermal camera. The moment somebody wears it, walks in, their temperature is measured. And the system for that, when you want to have thermal cameras, there's a number of cameras that work. So if you have a basic one, all you have to do is connect the webcam to USB and a thermal camera, do some setup, and you're done. You can also connect IP cameras. Now let's look more details about mask detection. So here you have somebody who's wearing a mask, wearing it properly. That's our employee, Emily. Now she's not wearing a mask. She's wearing a mask, but not properly, not covering the nose, so you have an alert. Or she's trying to spoof without a mask, just using her hand. So all these cases will be identified. But then we can also recognize people with a mask. So this is my colleague, Michael. Now you see without a mask is identified, but he's also identified without any problem when he's wearing his mask. So that's what FaceMe Health does. It is a solution that is available as a software, but also can be implemented into IoT devices. In fact, in a moment, Joe from MPS will show you how this was implemented into safety kiosks that his company developed. One last thing on COVID-19, one area of where it's quite important to ensure hygiene and prevent germs is in the healthcare space. So FaceMe can be used in many cases, from frictionless authentication of employees entering secure areas. We talked about mask detection, temperature measurement, authentication of people wearing masks, which is very common in health facilities. You can also use it to greet visitors, so minimize human contacts that could distribute germs. Contactless patient check-in using the face can be quite helpful. And then also patient identity verification. When you have the care staff, the nurses, the doctors who need to make sure they are interacting with the right patient, instead of grabbing their arm, scanning a barcode, you can just use facial recognition. So these are all use cases that are relevant in COVID-19. So in conclusion, FaceMe offers a complete set of solutions, anywhere from cutting-edge security and COVID-19 solutions to amazing contactless user experiences. It provides a lot of accuracy. It's flexible across any kind of configuration. It's very much cheaper than a cloud-based solution because there's no cloud computing. The SDK can be deployed anywhere, and it can be easily integrated into IoT solutions. Again, MPS will show that in a moment. And also we have solutions like FaceMe Security, FaceMe Health that are channel ready. So our partners like BlueStar will also present a bit later, can offer this to their customers so they can implement that. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Richard, for sharing CyberLink's new product, FaceMe Health, and how FaceMe SDK can be easily integrated for use cases in multiple verticals. Next up, we have Joe Caldwell, the CEO and co-founder from MPS. As Richard said earlier in his presentation, Joe will share more information related to Sentry Health kiosks with us. Here comes Joe.
Hey, this is Joe Caldwell with Municipal Parking Services. Thanks for having me today on the call. Municipal Parking Services, or MPS as we call it around here, is a 9-year-old company that has thousands of kiosks all over the world. We've put our first kiosk on the ground 7 years ago, so if you're doing the math, it took us 2 years to build the very first one that we did. But we didn't expect a global pandemic when we started, so they were never set up to, take people's temperatures, make sure they have a mask on, see that they hand sanitize, and a million other things. They were set up to do parking, and we are the inventors of the only parking kiosk in the world that writes parking tickets by itself. So you've heard of things like Gartner or IDC. We were just nominated several months ago from IDC as having the smartest technology in the world when it comes to smarter cities. So in April of this year, we took and modified our existing technology to be a health kiosk. Now this is much more than just taking some person's temperature, as you will see. We've put together a quick 4-minute video followed with a 2-minute video that really goes in depth on what it does. And then after that, we'll be happy to answer your questions. Thanks for your time. Thanks for showing up, and enjoy.
Do you need to control access to your establishment based on your guest or employee's health? Did you know that recent studies show over 90% of people with COVID-19 are asymptomatic? Assigning an employee to scan the temperature of people entering your building may be more of an occupational hazard and pose risks for others for the spread of COVID-19 and other contagious threats like the flu. One of the most effective defenses against the spread of COVID-19 is washing hands. The CDC says washing hands saves lives. Meet Century Health Kiosk, the only touchless, staffless kiosk that combines temperature checks, mandatory hand sanitizing, and optional face and mask recognition. Century Health Kiosk is an ADA-compliant device that performs a scan and presents a message for the user to proceed or wait for instruction. A green light indicates that your temperature is within normal range and you have used hand sanitizer. A red light indicates that you are above an acceptable threshold or you have not sanitized your hands. In this case, the user is politely asked to await further instructions, such as return at a later date, or call a phone number, or initiate a conference call with HR, security, or nurse. Bottom line, if you don't perform the temperature check and the hand sanitizer, you can't proceed. Century Health Kiosk can be installed anywhere there's a need to keep people safe. In office buildings, retail centers, manufacturing settings, healthcare facilities, or entertainment arenas and schools. Century Health Kiosk can support communication through Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, cellular, RFID, NFC, and Ethernet. Century Health Kiosk is more than a temperature reader or sanitizer. It is a scalable platform that can conduct touchless pre-screen surveys, recognize employees with facial recognition, issue visitor badges with QR codes, and connect to a printer. Using APIs, Century can integrate with TimeCard, HR, VMS system, and access control systems. Other optional features include Century mask detection software. Robust facial recognition software can detect if someone is wearing a mask or not. Century optional features can provide occupancy measurement in real time, keeping track of how many people are currently in a space. Access can be restricted to a specified number of occupants, and discounts, coupons, or other rewards can be offered to those waiting. Optional facial recognition can be integrated into your employee or guest recognition system, and visitor badges can be created on a self-service printer. Century Health is a breakthrough technology that helps protect your employees, visitors, business partners, and the entire community against health threats. Our patented technology is the only product in the world that makes hand sanitizing mandatory, along with safe body temperature readings in order to access a facility. If you have a small enterprise or a large enterprise, we can help you manage everything with CenturyLink, our cloud-connected back-end management system. Our system that allows you to remotely manage things like facial recognition database, trend reporting, employee versus visitor data, access control, and overall system health. With over 90% of people infected with COVID-19 not running a fever, current solutions that only take temperature are absolutely inadequate at best. And with thermal cameras being so inaccurate and prone to environmental conditions, the best practices must include infrared thermometers and hand sanitizing at a minimum. Contact us for a demonstration. info@centuryhealth.life. 612-308-1921.
Meet Century Health, a revolutionary safety and protection kiosk. Century Health helps manage lobbies and offices that are reopening. Century is a staffless kiosk that can credential visitors and employees. Hello, Mary Smith. Century is also a touchless self-screening device that can administer survey questions without risking the health of employees and visitors. By touchless, we mean a simple nod yes or a shake of the head no is all Century needs to understand. A medical-grade infrared thermometer produces reads in about a second. After completing a survey and temperature check, you can proceed as long as you sanitize your hands. Optional face mask integration can regulate proper face covering usage and detect whether face coverings are worn correctly or incorrectly. Once face covering is properly applied and you've completed the survey and temperature check, you may proceed, as long as you sanitize your hands. Other additional features include human resource integration, time card oversight, visitor management, and security system integration. Whether you're in a corporate lobby or a busy restaurant, Century helps provide peace of mind.
Thanks, Joe. Again, great product. I obviously have seen those videos dozens of times. Even as the technology provider, I'm still in awe every time I see the kiosk in action. Now that we have learned about the exciting products from CyberLink and MPS that can facilitate us going back to work and acclimate to the new normal during and after the pandemic, I think it would only make sense if we give you guys access to these new products. James Cordy is the manager of digital marketing strategy from BlueStar. He will talk a little bit more about the COVID-19 technologies that BlueStar carries and how you can make it available to your customers as ISVs and VARs, or even as end users. You would be able to obtain these products and technologies to implement at your office, corporate building, or even on campus. Let me hand it to James. Thank you, James.
Thanks, Jay, and hi, everyone. Thanks to the whole FaceMe team for having me today. My name is James Cordy. I'm the manager of digital marketing strategy at BlueStar. And for those of you that don't know BlueStar, we are a hardware distributor. We are headquartered in the greater Cincinnati, Ohio area, but we have locations throughout North and South America and Europe. To tell you a little bit about kind of who we serve and what we do, we carry hundreds of hardware manufacturers, both big and small, a couple handfuls of which you see on screen next to me. And our customers are value-added resellers, managed service providers, payment service providers, and software companies. They serve industries such as retail and hospitality, but also supply chain, healthcare, government, really across the board, public sector as well. And the types of solutions that we sell and that they provide range widely from network security to point of sale, field mobility, industrial labeling for specimen tracking in healthcare and as well in distribution and supply chain. So really, it's a wide gamut in terms of what we do. So as I mentioned, we are a value-added hardware distributor. And I want to talk to you a bit about what differentiates us, what makes BlueStar a different company than just another, pick, pack, and ship type of distribution company. And what I want to open up by talking about is our program called Tech Connect. Tech Connect was launched a number of years ago, and it was originally called ISV Connect. One of the things we realized probably 18 months ago is that ISV was a little bit of a limiting term. It was something that the newer technology and software companies in the space didn't necessarily identify with, since it's a bit of a legacy term. So we rebranded just late 2019 to Tech Connect. And the pillars of the program are pretty straightforward. We are a distribution company. We sell to value-added resellers, and we have a vast network of those types of companies across the world. So one of the huge values that we offer to companies like FaceMe is the ability to reach this group with their message and to build channel partnership in the form of a dealer network. So additional companies who can go and preach the good word about facial and mask detection and take that solution into their customers, so to extend FaceMe's reach. So that is one of the key reasons for anyone on the phone that software companies choose to work with BlueStar, is that we can really show them off, shine a light on them to our whole partner community and bring them more people that kind of compound their reach across the globe. Some of the other things we do, we have a Tech Connect podcast, so there are thought leadership opportunities when you are a Tech Connect member. We do end user lead generation extremely well, and that's something I'll touch on separately in a moment. We put on shows, both big and small, across the world, outside of pandemic, obviously, and that culminates in kind of our crown jewel, which is VARTech, which is the specialized IT #1 show and has been for years and years. And anyone that's been to a VARTech can attest. Not only is it a great business opportunity, but it's a ton of fun. And then lastly, we help our software partners build out solutions. So one of the key aspects of our program is trying to create alliances between some of our top hardware partners and software partners. So folks who are looking to, break into the warehouse or supply chain or retail, we pair them up with companies who have built hardware meant for, the rigors of those environments. So I wanted to talk quickly about the nature of the partnership between BlueStar and FaceMe. FaceMe is not a company who sells our hardware. They are a pure software company, which is great. What they identified in terms of how BlueStar could help them was to do exactly what I said earlier, to get their message in front of our reseller network with the idea that it would resonate with some percentage of folks who said, you know what, I could add facial recognition to my self-service kiosk, my access control solution to take it to the next level. So that's where our partnership began and where it's headed. So what we'll continue to do is to explore other use cases for their SDK, their platform, and our resellers who offer different form factors of hardware solutions, anything from video surveillance to even self-ordering type of solutions is somewhere that FaceMe could fit. And then lastly, where we'll get and where I want to talk a little bit to you all about is end user lead generation. So we have a program called Appware Solutions that was founded 3.5 years ago, and this is where I spend every day of my life focused. Appware Solutions was built with one goal in mind, and that is to help our partners, and that could be software partners or value-added resellers, take their solutions directly to the end customer. So it's within BlueStar's distribution agreement with our manufacturers that we will never sell directly to end users. We are a 100% channel-focused and committed company. However, we identified that one of the areas that we can really add value for our partners is through digital marketing, and it's somewhere that we have a ton of expertise. We take an approach called content marketing, where instead of going and talking specifically about a piece of hardware or specifically about a piece of software, we put together educational content. And the goal of that content, so that's what we go out and market. The goal of it is twofold. Number one, it's to truly educate potential prospects and make them better consumers who understand what they're looking for, what's in the market, so to speak. So even if they don't end up going with our partners and selecting the solution we're hoping that they will, we're adding value. But secondarily, what we do is we create this content in a way where it is a strong indicator that if someone is willing to download this content and give us their phone number, their email address, their job title, their company name, that there's a very good chance that these are people who either now or in the future might have interest in purchasing our products and services. So you see on screen next to me just one example of an ebook that we created, and it was specific to an incident command solution. So it's a piece of software meant for the fire and rescue incident command battalion chief role, and it runs on a hardened, rugged tablet, something that can really take a beating. We put together a piece of content, and what we do is we take it to places like LinkedIn, LinkedIn's ad tool specifically, where we can build a very targeted audience of fire chiefs and battalion chiefs, deputy chiefs, and things like that, and get this message in front of them. We'll also do things like we'll go to firehouse.com, who has an opted-in subscriber base of over 20,000 people that are relevant to this solution. We'll negotiate a rate with them to send an email out to their subscribers with the goal, again, of promoting our content and generating new leads for our partners. So it's really a differentiator. We're quite good at it, and I think it's unlike anything that you'll see a technology distribution company doing on the marketing side. It's really a pretty interesting program. So with all of that said, I just wanted to highlight a couple of interesting solutions that I think could be complementary. Solutions that have come across my desk from different partners that BlueStar works with in a variety of ways. We'll start with WorkSafe from a company called Pointer. Pointer is a European-based company, and they initially started working with BlueStar Europe and then realized that they were interested in breaking into the North American market. So they are aligned with one of our main hardware vendors, which is a critical piece. It's not a 100% requirement, but when there are alliances between software partners and some of the hardware vendors that BlueStar represents and carries, they can often benefit from the funding from those hardware vendors. So I spoke about Appware Solutions. 85 to 90% of the campaigns that we execute on behalf of software partners and value-added resellers, managed service providers, are funded by those hardware partners. But it obviously relies on there being an alliance, meaning, an agreement that if a lead comes through and it closes, that the software company, the reseller, would pitch the value of, the hardened, purpose-built hardware for that particular application. So WorkSafe is about contact tracing and also congestion monitoring. So whereas the FaceMe and MPS solution is meant for effective access control, mask detection, and health screening, this would be once employees are in the manufacturing plant, the distribution center. Not only are we monitoring congestion to ensure that we're doing our best to prevent people spreading infection where it might be present, but in the event that there is an infection, there's an effective contact tracing component, which can let people know, when did these two devices become close enough where there could have been an issue. So WorkSafe is something that runs on, employee devices, whether they're their personal smartphones or their purpose-built rugged handhelds that they're using for their job. The application runs on that device. It reports anonymously back to, the dashboard. The next solution is quite different. So it's from a company called Doosan IT, and the solution is called Analance. And it is a predictive analytics platform that can be used in a variety of ways within healthcare and in fact other industries. And one of the other ways it can be used outside of sepsis prevention, which is the really interesting use case, is no-show predictability. So it can predict when a customer or a client might be at a higher risk of not showing up or canceling their appointment. And it can give the office staff some intelligence to work with to do what they can to ensure that folks do show up for their appointments, which is important in the healthcare industry. But sepsis prevention, so how it works in that instance is it's looking at historical patient information and it's comparing it to current patient data that's coming in. So when updates are being made to a patient's medical record or when lab results are returning, Analance is running in the background on a clinician's device and also on the back office system, and looking to detect potential sepsis earlier so that clinical staff can prevent it. It is the #1 readmission reason in hospitals, and it costs hospitals a ton of money, an ungodly amount of money every year. So it's a really interesting solution. So if you are either looking to get into the healthcare industry, or if you have customers there, maybe you serve them on a totally different side of things, Doosan's Analance platform is something that we could put you in touch with, and it could be potential partnership or another way into some new clients or even additional revenue for some existing clients. And then lastly, FastSensor. FastSensor is also a premier Tech Connect partner, just like FaceMe. They're a partner we've worked with for some time. They're about customer journey mapping. So for a long time, they've worked with businesses who do big trade show exhibits, and they've worked with them to prove ROI. How many folks came and looked in your booth? What path did they take? Where did they dwell? And they can report back with dashboards and maps and all kinds of really cool visualizations of that data. But in the environment we're currently in, they have launched a new iteration of their solution called ADAM, which stands for Active Distance Alert and Monitoring. So it's similar to WorkSafe in some ways, with the notable difference being they don't require an application. So Fast Sensor works with sensor hardware, and it basically is pinging personal devices. So anyone traveling a space that has a personal device is being tracked by Fast Sensor, again, anonymously. And it's a really great, affordable solution as well. So again, I think it could be a great complement. These are just a few examples of the types of solutions and the types of companies that BlueStar is connected to that we can connect channel partners with. Thanks so much, everyone, for your time. I really appreciate it. Again, my name is James Cordy, and I'm the Manager of Digital Marketing Strategy at BlueStar. If you want to see what a different technology distributor is all about, get in touch with us. Check us out at bluestarinc.com, at techconnect.com, and let's get in touch. Thanks again.
Hi everyone. Thanks for taking part in the webinar. I really appreciate Joe, James, and also Richard being our presenter. Just to give you guys a little bit again more information about the products and offerings. Craig will conduct a Q&A. Before we doing that, just do want to apologize. We did see some people in the Q&A saying that they weren't able to either hear the audio or the or watch the stream. What we do have is we will be sending out the this recorded stream after the event, so you guys will be able to access it with the link, and you'll be able to see the entire presentation from all of our presenters. And also, again, as I said on top of the call, just in case you guys have joined later in the event, we do have a handout that we provided, which is a way to contact us. All three companies' representatives are listed, and we have our email addresses listed as well, so you'll be able to reach out to us after the event. So I'm going to pass it on now to Craig. He has some questions that were asked by the audience, and we will have our panelists to address those questions. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jay. All right, so yes, we have a number of questions from our panelists, and I've been collecting them, so let me break this down. So the first one is a very important one for Joe from MPS. Can you tell us how your test smell works? How do you test for smell?
Sure. So using FaceMe's technology, we're the only people in the world that test for smell. Now, this is extremely important considering what we know now about the COVID virus is the #1 symptom for COVID is not running a fever. So this idea we just take people's temperatures and rock and roll, you can come into my building, it's kind of a dumb idea. So the #1 symptom is actually loss of taste and smell. So we can't really do taste, but smell is pretty easy to do. So after we hand sanitize you, we come back and ask you, can you smell the hand sanitizer on your hands? And all you got to do is shake your head up and down, yes. And when you do, then we will let you in the building, we'll unlock the door, and off you go. If you shake your head, no, like I can't smell it, a black van shows up and 2 guys in ski masks jump out, and we don't see you again. So it has the way of doing that too. So
that's an expensive result at the end there. Yes, I like that. All right, so based on that, can your system manage large enterprise environments with multiple kiosks, and can you discuss how you address this and what enterprise class tools and applications you offer?
Sure. So a couple of things that we do that are unique because we are used to environments where we're putting thousands of these out at one time, like for example, a city. The last city that put these in was our parking kiosks, was right before COVID hit, was Flint, Michigan. They have 400 of our kiosks, scattered across their city. You don't want to have to run around every 5 minutes to make sure all 400 kiosks are working. So every 5 minutes, they phone home. They do a variety of like 80 different checks, and they send back a report. Same with the health kiosks. It's leveraging that same technology. So it will let you know, hey, we had 400 people come through here today. 2 people had temperatures. I send them both home. The black van came and got 1 guy. And oh, by the way, I'm low on hand sanitizer. And so these are things that it can do in real time So, the whole idea is to get rid of the person at the front babysitting this thing, because that's when all the costs, wrap up is with that. And it also has a lot of big data features where it can, if you want to know how your office in Stockton's doing, you can look in real time and it'll say, hey, we've had a 4% increase in temperature day over day for the last 5 days. Our Dallas office temperatures are great, but 13% of our workforce doesn't know how to put a mask on. Here are the name of the 78 guys that don't know how to wear a mask every morning when they show up for work. And our Atlanta office is kicking butt, and so we're going to bring more people back to work in Atlanta. We're going to go have a little training down in Dallas on how to wear a mask. In our Stockton office, we're going to shut it down for 2 weeks and see what happens. So this is real-time data that you're getting to because that's how this is going to be fixed. It's making big decisions are made by using big data in real time, and that's what we bring to the table.
Great response. Great response. Next question is for CyberLink. What makes FaceMe the world's top cross-platform AI facial recognition engine?
Yeah, sure. So it's, as I was mentioning in my presentation, already in terms of accuracy, it's one of the top 5 in the world when you take out a few solutions from China, from Russia. Now, because it runs at the edge, it means that it's very fast. A few milliseconds can perform facial recognition instead of a lot of solutions that are cloud-based that need to send picture to the cloud, process, come back. It's also much cheaper because you don't have to do expensive cloud processing. And so right there already, we're pretty much at the top. Now add the support of literally every platform from Windows, iOS, Android, and several flavors of Linux. We leave everybody behind in the dust. Keep going in terms of our features, whether it's the features in the SDK or the standalone solutions like FaceMe Security, FaceMe Health. We offer more features than any other company. And if it was not enough, we are optimized literally on all sorts of configurations for hardware, from very powerful workstations all the way to very low-powered IoT devices. So when you bring it all together, you overlay to it the fact that CyberLink has been around for 25 years. We're at scale. We are partnering already with some of the largest companies in the world and around the world. We are absolutely the best company for facial recognition.
Great. All right, next question is for BlueStar. How can we get in touch with BlueStar about potential partnership marketing activities? James, you're muted.
Sorry about that, guys. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry, I thought I...
Oh, you went mute again. James? Sorry, you went mute. No, we still can't hear you. Unfortunately, no.
I think I can hear you guys now. Can you hear me?
Now, I think, yeah, we can hear you now. Great.
We're good. So if your company, if you're a value-added reseller, managed service provider, or a software company, there are a couple of different ways you can work with BlueStar. First and foremost, we're a hardware distributor, as I mentioned. So if you're in the point of sale, field mobility, warehousing, healthcare spaces, we have a wide variety, portfolio of product, and we're great. That's our bread and butter, as I mentioned. But in terms of the partnership marketing, so the critical piece there, as I mentioned earlier as well, is take a look at our line card, take a look at some of the manufacturers that we distribute, and see if there's a match with any of the companies you're working with. That is really when the opportunity opens up for partnership marketing. And the way that you can think of BlueStar in that case is, we're like an ad agency or a marketing agency that really knows the channel and really knows, end user marketing as well. So, as I mentioned before, you can reach out to me personally, jcordy@bluestarinc.com, or visit bluestarinc.com and connect with any of our business development managers for our manufacturing lines.
Yeah, on a related topic, someone else in the audience was asking whether these three of our companies have global presence. I would say for all of us, yes, we do. We do make our products available globally, and BlueStar obviously is a global distribution company as well. So again, feel free to get in touch with us. We do have one other question that just came in right now about how we manage facial recognition databases. I think I will have Richard and Joe answer that separately. I think the first facet is for the kiosk, right? Do the DB actually runs on the edge, or do you have a server that deals with facial recognition?
Yeah, I'll take a crack at that. We can do it either way, up in the AWS cloud, or we can run it locally on the edge. Whatever you pick.
Right. And for Richard, FaceMe.
Yeah, well, FaceMe again typically will work at the edge, but the database can be at the edge, even completely disconnected from any network if it's necessary for security reasons or just location, for example, in the middle of a field to measure temperature of people working in the field in a farm. But it can also be connected to local networks. It could be sitting on centralized server, let's say a chain of stores that want to share data on their loyalty program members. So it offers all the flexibility possible. A couple of more things about the database. In terms of the speed, we have database tools as part of our toolkit that enable extremely fast search in the database. So we're talking of a few milliseconds to access a record in the database of up to millions of entries. Based on our technology also, we don't store big data files. All we need to do is transmit tiny files of less than 1 kilobyte that have vectors of people's face. It's very highly encrypted. So if there's any security concern, any concern about the size of the data that needs to be stored in the database or transmitted, it's all as good as it gets.
Great, and we have less than 10 minutes left. So Craig, I think are there more questions?
Yeah, two quick questions. Question about MSRP for Century Health.
It's a great question. If you're buying onesie twosies, they're $12,500 a piece, and then they have a monthly software license. If you're buying in large quantities, we can talk to you about it. Just reach out to me, Joe, at npspark.com, and we'll dig into the details.
Great.
All right. And another question was asking, how does it work offline dealing with sending notifications with FaceMe? I'll respond to that. So FaceMe doesn't require to be online for it to work. And once it detects and identifies you, then you can send a notification through your local internet and send it out via email or text through that. So it'd be handled through a separate process that would be using the internet access if necessary, if it's outside local internet. And last question I have is for MPS, how is your product differentiated from others in the market?
Whoa, hang on, my laptop just fell. Sorry. So hopefully it's more steady than my laptop. I think a couple of things about us that are uniquely different. One, most of the people that got into this, we'll call it a health kiosk business, all started in China. They all started around January, and they basically took an Android tablet and a thermal camera, and they stuck them together, and voila, health kiosk. And we have been doing this now forever, and we have gotten tens of millions of transactions that have happened on our platform. So we know it's very solid. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we do that we can't talk about publicly, but we have some stuff in other countries that are kiosks that smell for chemical weapons, some that smell for plastic explosives. There's another country on their border where we're running facial recognition on everyone that comes across the border. We can't say which border and which countries, but the health kiosk has kind of been dumbed down from some of the stuff that we've built. And I guess the key important thing is that what we saw out there in the marketplace is basically, like I said, the Android tablet with the thermal camera, and then they basically stuck a bottle of hand sanitizer with some super glue on the side of the unit. And according to the CDC, the number one thing you can do to stop the spread of COVID is actually do the stuff your mama taught you when you were a little kid, and that's wash your hands. But if you give people that as an option, whether you can do it or not, just go to Target, your local Walmart, go there tonight, just sit by the door. Hopefully the police don't come and arrest you for being a creep, but just watch how many people walk through the door. There's a hand sanitizing system right at the front door, and I'm willing to bet you lunch at your local restaurant, 1 in 10 people actually do it, okay? So if that's the number one way to stop the spread of COVID, just having a bottle of hand sanitizer at the front door and you make it voluntarily is not a good idea, because only about 1 in 10 people are going to do it. So this actually, we see the hand sanitizer go in your hands. Now I'm not a miracle worker. I don't know if you wipe it on your pants, but at least I know I got it on your hands, okay? And that's half the battle, right? So you can drag someone to the water. You just can't make them. You shove their head in it, but who knows if they swallow it, right? But that's the battle right there, is getting people to wash their hands, getting people to make sure they have a mask on, asking the health questionnaire without having to touch a screen. We even we support QR codes, so we can do some crazy stuff there. At the Mall of America, I don't know if you guys have heard of the Mall of America. They just bought one, and it prints out a wristband for the employees. So now when you're at Nordstrom's and you're looking to see if that person is helping you today is good, they have a little wristband on. It's got their name, it's got the date. They know that they were scanned. They went through that whole system of ours, and they get a wristband for the day, right? So you know that at least who you're dealing with is that they had a good temperature, they answered the health questionnaire, but most importantly, they washed their nasty hands before they came into work today. And to me, that's like the number one thing, honestly. I'd rather have a guy have a low-grade fever. I'd take that guy over any other day of someone having dirty hands. I mean, that's really how this thing gets around. So I think that's some of the difference. And then when you add all the big data components that we do, you have a lot of management tools to really manage this. I mean, so I guess that's the gist of it.
Yeah, so the last question before I let everyone go. So somebody's asking, the size of the database, how many faces could it actually handle? From CyberLink side, I think it goes the same with Century Health kiosks as well. There's literally no limit to the number of faces that we could store. FaceMe's largest deployment has more than 20 million faces, right? So if you're using it for employees, you definitely won't be able to see any problems there. So I think that I would just conclude our webinar at this point. Thanks everyone for joining. Again, the webinar will be made available offline with a follow-up email. I'm gonna also bring up our contact information for the last few seconds of the event, so then you guys can take a screenshot if you need to get a hold of us. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Bye everyone.
Bye everyone. Thank you.
Goodbye.